Sick Harrison Price for Monday, January 19th, 2026. We're a presentation of Bet365, and we're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio here at the historic Wall Center. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Sick Harrison alongside Blake Price, Mike Rogerson, and all his Junos hitting switches, conducting things alongside intern Quinlan Curry. We got a big show planned for you, and that's because the Vancouver Canucks have made their second big trade of the season. So let's get to it with the daily poll question. Are you disappointed in the return for Kiefer Sherwood? The Canucks receive the San Jose Sharks second-round pick in 2026, the San Jose Sharks second-round pick in 2027, and depth defenseman Cole Clayton. And if you're wondering why we're asking it in terms of are you disappointed in the return, well, the Canucks had set a price of a first-round pick, and they came off that first-round pick recently here. Mr. Price, first take goes to you.
First of all, as to what I think the fans will say, my initial gut reaction was that they will say, yes, that they are disappointed. But just reading feedback via social media on it, people seem to be okay with the multiple pick thing. So it'll be interesting to see what they say. Ultimately, if you're asking my opinion, I think that getting 2 second-round picks is pretty fair for this player. I thought asking for a first-round pick, you can ask all you want. But the market is what the market will bear. And a first-round pick for Kiefer Sherwood seemed a rich ask. Can you find historic trades in the National Hockey League where guys like Coleman and others, who's the other one that everybody likes to trot out?
Yeah, I'll get it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, in isolation, have those trades occurred? Yes. But this is probably what Sherwood should be worth. I mean, he's an old free agent, and I hesitate to use the word old, but we're talking within the context of National Hockey League players. He's an older free agent who does not have pedigree of scoring goals. I think it's a fair deal. I'm not going to give a glowing review. I don't think the Canucks stole anything, but that's a fair trade.
I voted yes. I'm slightly disappointed. Wanted that first-round pick. The way I look at it, frankly, wanted first-round pick and a sweetener, and I think if you had made the deal earlier when Kiefer Sherwood was really humming, I do wonder. Sounds like that first wasn't there. The other thing I wonder is, and we'll talk to Darren Dreger and John Shannon on today's program, there is an emerging school of thought around the National Hockey League that because we are dealing with yet another roster freeze here, a second one in season for the Olympics starting February 4th and ending February 22nd, is that teams that do not have their business done when that second roster freeze ends on February 23rd, they have just 12 days until the trade deadline, and the thinking around the NHL is that some teams are going to be desperate and pay higher prices as fear of loss strikes them and as there are fewer players available on the trade market. So I agreed with Jeff Merrick, who has been consistently saying, I think they can get a first if they wait. I also understand the dangers of waiting. They had already waited on this player and seen him get hurt. So I think that sort of struck some fear in the Vancouver Canucks, and I can understand why they came off and softened their price.
We've also made
a first plus,
we've also
or
made
a
the
second
argument,
and a great prospect and a good prospect plus to 2 second-round picks.
We've also made the argument, though, that trading early, you get to convince the team that, hey, you're getting this guy for a lot longer. You should give me more. Right? We've made that argument in the past.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Albeit there's just not a lot of games between now and the March 6th deadline. Because
it is only January 19th.
Yeah,
there's still 3 weeks before the Olympics here.
Fair enough. The other way I look at it is this, Blake. So, so I wanted a first-round pick. They wanted a first-round pick. Let's say that first-round pick is, let's say it's later. Let's say it's number 25 overall.
It's a hell of a second half of the season for the Sharks, but I hear you.
Okay, but if it's another team, it was Dallas or something.
Oh, I
like
see.
You know,
Okay, yeah.
let's say it's a mid-20s first-round pick as it stands now. Would I trade that for number 49 overall and a future second-round pick? Probably not. I'd probably need more than that to fall that down the draft board, almost a full round, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it as well. Now, what this does do to the Vancouver Canucks, and I mean, sit down here if you're used to the history of this team. Like, that gives them a full complement of 7 selections in the 2026 NHL entry draft, and, hold your hat here, 8 selections in the 2027 draft.
Well,
One more than the full complement.
People might be surprised.
As things stand now, the number of trades that this organization has made under this owner where multiple draft picks have come this way, very few. There have been some trade downs at the draft. Eddie Lack fetched a couple of later picks, but more often than not, this team doesn't bring in picks to begin with, let alone bring in multiple picks.
Yes.
In the same deal.
There's a draft day trade down but the last time a human being got you more than 2 picks, I'm using this human being word, was Eddie Lack. So that's 10 years, 10 plus ago. It's it might be surprising to Canucks fans that despite getting 2 here, getting 1 with the Quinn Hughes trade, the Canucks are only now back to par for this coming draft. Like that tells you again, the rebuild the rebuild began 2 to 3 years ago, although now we've made multiple deals to only now get back to par for the 2026 draft.
Incidentally, I think you meant Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman going for first-round picks, right? And they had similar games to Kiefer Sherwood, who was scoring goals, who was hitting people, who was as affordable as they come. So, for the purposes of the 2026 entry draft, at the moment, and this will change, but at the moment, the Vancouver Canucks hold 4 of the first 49 picks, 4 of the first 48 picks, if in fact the Ottawa Senators do forfeit that first-round pick, which right now is forfeited, but they're going to make their case to the league. We'll see. Now, the second-round pick they got from San Jose here, of course, can improve or it can worsen. It's number 49 right now, so really smack dab in the middle of the second round, because that's where San Jose is as a mid-pack team. So, of course, you have the Canucks Indigenous first-round pick, which at the moment would be first, second, or third, last place in the NHL. Now, 7 points worse than the Jets, last place in the NHL, and the Jets have a game in hand, and you got to really hand it to them. I mean, this has been a tank job par excellence. I mean, straight down to the bottom with cushion, giving others games in hand. That's how you tank Adam Foote. So the first, second, or third overall pick, that Minnesota first-round pick gleaned in the Quinn Hughes trade. It remains at number 27. It's been at number 27 for a while. That's because of where the Wild stand in the overall league standings, but of course playoff results will affect that pick. Then Vancouver has its Indigenous second-round pick, which would be the first pick in the second round right now. No lottery in the second round. You go Linus Stern, worst to first. So that's 32nd overall, 31st overall, again, if the Ottawa Senators do wind up forfeiting that first-round pick. So pick 1, 2, or 3, pick 27, pick 32, pick 49. That's where the Vancouver Canucks stand right now.
It's not
with
bad.
More to come, frankly. The other thing we should note about this trade, Blake, there were a lot of people, Canucks fans, worried. We had brought it up several times too. Okay, is the impatience of this ownership and management group going to rear its head again? Are they looking to trade Kiefer Sherwood for like a 22, 23-year-old NHLer they can drop in their lineup, or would they be satisfied with draft picks? They have chosen draft picks, and draft picks are a fuller sign of a rebuild. Right?
I think Sherwood was always going to be a future. Sherwood was always going to be a future. I think where you're going to see a 22 to 23-year-old guy is in a Jake DeBrusk trade if that happens. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where you get into the
So when you get further up the Canucks lineup in terms of guys they're trading out, you think that's
where you
where
get the
you're
more
going to
now
ask for
pieces.
NHL players back or guys on the verge of being NHL players. As Pignotta always says to us, first-round equivalents, right? Like young players who are on the verge of playing in the NHL or getting their NHL career started, as opposed to simply the first-round pick, who more often than not is at least a year, if not several years.
So what you're tempting the other team with in that trade is you don't have to wait for player X to blossom. I've got you a blossomed player. It's Jake DeBrusk.
Yeah, the difference between green and yellow bananas.
Yes.
The other thing on the Sherwood trade that we should mention, it makes room for Jonathan Lekkerimäki in the lineup. Now, in the immediate term, if Teddy Blueger can go tonight or can go Wednesday versus Washington, they need a roster spot for him. So I imagine it would be Blueger in the immediate term. But you've sent a winger out. Don't tell me you have to play Arshdeep Bains or some of the other wingers. If Jonathan Lekkerimäki continues his strong play in Abbotsford, then you are absolutely making room for Jonathan Lekkerimäki in the NHL as a one-time first-round pick himself and the organization's best natural goal scorer.
And not to mention Filipino's not too far away either. So you've got to accommodate for all of this in some way, shape, or form.
So I'm a yes, slightly disappointed. You're a no.
Mm-hmm. Slightly not disappointed.
Mike Rogerson, break the tie.
I wanted a first real bad. Really did. I have very little faith in second-round picks. That's all.
Thank you, Mike. We'll take that as a yes.
Yeah, you can list your housing price. We've been making this analogy. You can ask whatever you want for your house. Doesn't mean you're going to get it.
But Blake,
they raised expectations.
Have you properly marketed that home?
Oh,
have you properly
drone
marketed
footage of the backyard?
Have you fear of lost the suitors? The interested parties.
Then you get it into market.
Mike talks about second-round picks with the Vancouver Canucks. Nils Höglander, who has played 306 NHL games now.
Not many of them well, though.
Jet Wu, who has not played a single one as a second-round pick. Cole Lind, Jonah Gadjevich, of course. Gadjevich has turned into a mostly NHL player. Lind, not so much. Thatcher Demko, a second-round pick, 262 NHL games. Recent history of Canucks second-round picks, and of course, who can forget Anton Rodin in those 3 NHL games, including the one where he was on the bench and didn't play, remember?
Are you an NHL player when that's on your resume? The Thatcher Demko one's an interesting one to bring up because, of course, he's in the wheelhouse of where this Canucks second-round pick is going to be. He was 36th overall. That's not going to be too far off from where the Canucks will be drafting.
Smaller league back then, not as many teams, so he was a few picks deeper into the second round than what is it, 36, 38, than what that pick would be today. But yes, in the similar territory. Their indigenous pick, let's be clear, not the pick that they're acquiring here today. That is
the Canucks second round.
Yeah, exactly. That Canucks second round. I mean, Jet Wu was the 37th overall. Cole Lind was the 33rd overall.
Oh, there you go. They're all in that wheelhouse. Yeah.
Well, Höglander 40th.
The Canucks have been bad for a while, folks.
Gadjevich 55th.
Wow.
Anyways, Medvedev was their most recent second-round pick. Alexei, the goaltender with the London Knights, and of course, Danila Klimovich, once upon a time, a second-round pick as well. Let's get to our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery. Rebuild underway. Canucks make second big in-season trade after Quinn Hughes dealt to Minnesota last month, secured 2 seconds from San Jose and an AHL defenseman for Kiefer Sherwood. Sans extension. another reason why I voted disappointed on the poll question. Why is this team hesitant to give others an opportunity to talk extension when acquiring one of their players? Now, they did this with Horvat as well, and Bo wound up signing with the Islanders, but as you know, like, Bo's a people pleaser, and Sherwood may be as well. But is he not worth more if you allow teams to come to terms with him? What is lost for you as an organization?
Do we know for sure that didn't happen, though? Like, there was an advertised?
That seemed to be the case based on what Dreger and others were saying. I mean, unless that was so low-key and so sly that nobody picked up on it, it doesn't sound like they allowed teams to talk extension with Sherwood.
Well, it didn't deter the San Jose Sharks, who have scads of cap space, so they could easily do it.
Sure.
And if they like the return that they get from Kiefer Sherwood here in the next couple of months.
But others, Blake, you know. Anyways. Canucks received San Jose's second-round pick this year and next year. The depth defenseman is Cole Clayton. He's a right-shot defenseman, former Medicine Hat Tiger. He actually led all WHL defensemen in goals and points in that shortened 2020-21 bubble seasons. He was a free agent after that. He's played 271 AHL games, none in the NHL, and was included in this deal in part because San Jose needed to or wanted to ship out a contract.
Which tells you that they probably want to acquire more players here because that would have put them at 48 contracts, a little bit touch and go. Now they're at 47, a little more breathing space. The Canucks, incidentally, because they take it on, they're at 48 contracts as well. And we've talked about this in terms of asset management. Those slots are assets to the Canucks because taking on bad contracts, taking on players like this to make a deal happen, that's part of the exercise here for the Canucks. So they are up against it here at 48 contracts. They don't have a whole lot of leeway the rest of the way.
Let's hear from Kiefer Sherwood and his reaction to the trade.
Yeah, I was obviously a little caught off guard. I just was bag skating. So then I got off and was told, obviously. So just, first and foremost, I'm really thankful for everything that the city and this organization has given me. And I know they say you earn it, but you got to have the opportunity. And, as a guy that has been a late bloomer, everything I could have hoped for and more, and this is really a special place to play. And I think that's the hard part at times about the business is you get attached to certain cities and communities, and I feel like this city and place to play in this organization, they do things the right way. They really live and breathe hockey, and I think that's why that passion has been so. It's been a mutual respect and appreciation, and I've said that. I wish, obviously, nothing but the best for this organization moving forward. And I know no matter what people feel, like the organization is going to benefit from this with the picks and whatnot. So I'm just really grateful for everything and couldn't have asked for, more coming into this. And, when I just told Patrick and Jim that, I wanted nothing more signing here than to make the playoffs, and I know the city, how much it means to them and craves it. And, the playoffs are a special time for every city and team, but it's different here, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later. And sometimes you just got to trust the process as a player. And, I think the other part of it too is, there's so many great connections in the locker room. And I think that's the hard part is I have so many brothers for life and so many great guys that I'm going to miss. So I would never, ever close any doors in life, but I'm just grateful for everything, and I wish nothing but the best for the people in the city of Vancouver.
Well, great awareness there. First of all, if you are going to be pulled off the ice to be informed of a trade, let it be while you're back skating.
Totally. Remember, he's on the IR. He's going straight to San Jose's IR. He's an injured player still.
Yeah. But good awareness there. The right words about the market. Good on him.
Very informed about the trade. You will never hear players talk about what came back the other way. And he's talking about how the picks will be great for the team.
Yeah, I mean, very self-aware too. I'm a late bloomer, and
Yeah.
and look, seemed like a quality dude, a
Yeah.
heart and soul player, wore his emotions on his sleeve, and yeah, absolutely forged connections with Canucks fans in this market. He was absolutely adored here, so good on him, and wish him the best going to San Jose.
He might get good deployment. People are starting to mock up the San Jose lineup, and a lot of people think he'll be playing up the lineup.
Playing
here.
with Macklin?
Maybe.
Or with Will Smith? Or with
They-
both?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And as we get into Crave the Stats, brought to you by Uber Eats, Canucks really furthered his career here when you think of it. I mean, he was an established NHL player, I guess, in Nashville
Yeah, NHL
when
player.
he got
but-
here.
Yeah.
But holy cow, look at the way his Vancouver Canucks career took off here. It was 122 games as a Vancouver Canucks, so really a season and a half. 36 goals, 27 assists, 63 points, slightly better than a half point per game. And then there's the hits. 672 as a Vancouver Canuck, an NHL record 462 last year.
672 of his 1164. So you can see how much he ramped up that pace, and he's going to need to keep up that intensity the rest of the way as a San Jose Shark, and they're hoping he will because, of course, he still has yet to put ink to paper to this prolific extension that we all think he's due, and that's the reason why he was traded, was that we know he wants to earn his first big contract in the NHL. He does need to pick up where he left off. Like, he does need to score some goals for the San Jose Sharks, and he does need to rattle the boards in order to make sure that he gets that contract. So it should be very interesting to watch him over the course of his San Jose portion. I hate that now he's forced me to almost cheer against Macklin Celebrini and himself, because those are two guys that you want to cheer for in the NHL. But the worse the San Jose Sharks do, the better the Canucks draft, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you are an anti-Sharks fan,
Yeah.
I think, if you're a Canuck fan.
There are some schools of thought, and particularly draft dependent in certain drafts, that there won't be a big distinction between pick 49 and pick 35, right? Like, we've talked to Cam Robinson and other draft guys
Yep.
on the floor that sometimes in some classes, cohorts, you get to a scenario whereby the difference between 25 and 45 isn't all that big, right?
Oh,
that you
that's
just
when you
have
see
this
fallers.
whole pool of players that, you know, teams would rank very differently and yet put a similar grade on in terms of how they feel they will mature as NHL players. So we'll see, but I hear what you're saying. Do we want to hear from Sherwood one more time and then get into Uber Eats? You want
Sure.
to tell us about it? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's Kiefer Sherwood, who thanked management for getting this done early.
The whirlwind. So I told him how thankful we are to try to get some things sorted out before that if things weren't going to work out here, and you know, that's just part of the business, I guess. But yeah, you know, I definitely would like to have like a last, I don't know, hoorah or something, or dinner, or just get together with the guys, because we spent a lot of time together the last 2 years, you know, and you know, I think there's a lot of guys that they have bright futures ahead here, and you know, I just want to say how thankful I am for them and all their memories that we've built together over this time.
Yeah, his wife is due in April, so can understand why he wanted to get things going here. The March 6th trade deadline might have been a little too close to for comfort
Yeah.
on the Sherwood
Comfort being the
side
operative,
of things.
moving around a very
and I
pregnant
think
woman,
the
yes.
agent pushed them along here and said, "Look, guys, keep asking for a first. You may have to play this out until the 6th, until March 6th." And I understand that. We went over the merits or drawbacks of that. Anyways, the Canucks are getting business done, and so are our friends at Uber Eats.
They are always getting business done for you. And if you're going to the game, remember the Canucks are at home for eternity now, the eternal homestand. But, you know, the prices at the rink are pretty steep. So if you Uber Eats before you leave for the game, you're coming out
Or
ahead.
if you're watching at home,
Yeah, well, that needless to say.
let's just say.
But eat before you go. Game day app deals all season long, like buy one, get one, 6-piece chicken McNuggets. Uber Eats assisting every fan's hockey experience all season.
And we now have Patrick Alvin on the record on this trade. So let me just check here. Mike, are you ready to go on these Alvin clips? Are we ready to? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we got one here on his reaction to the return that he got.
Here he is, the Canucks GM, Patrick Alvin.
We were, again, looking to accumulate more draft capital here for this year and also moving forward. It's important with the rebuilding going a little bit younger. We felt the respect to Kiefer and his family, where his situation is, and if we were happy with or pleased with the return, we felt we weren't gonna just sit and wait for something else, and at this point we felt that this was the best for the Canucks.
I mean, and I realize English isn't his first language, but again, looking to accumulate draft capital? No, Patrick, you mean we are now looking to accumulate draft capital and go younger with our rebuild. You guys have only started talking about that recently. I mean, a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, you were never even rebuilding, and now all of a sudden you want to make us believe that this has been a long-standing process? Unbelievable. Anyways, good on them by doing well by the Sherwood family. Let's understand where all this went, though. The Vancouver Canucks originally were asking for a first-round pick and a secondary asset for Kiefer Sherwood. That started to soften. Late last week, you started to hear about a prospect and a second-round pick, but they were still looking to get two decent assets out of this, and I suppose you could say that they still did if you consider two second-round picks decent assets. I do wonder whether that 27-second Blake is a bit of a canary in the mine shaft. Does that show an even greater commitment to the rebuild, given that pick is 18 months away, and given that player, if he ever makes it to the NHL, is at least 2 years away after that?
I would love the poly-market action on do the Canucks use that pick, or does that pick
Right.
end up somewhere else? Let's listen in. Alvin does talk about him trying to get the first-round pick.
I think even if you're looking up to this point, I'm not sure if any team yet is giving up a first-round pick in 26. So you never know. I do think the first-round picks in 26 are valuable, and I think a player that is heading towards free agency, it's not like he's controlled. So the San Jose is taking their risk as well here, and he's also injured, current injury, but he should be back here pretty soon.
Hold up. You're not sure if anybody's given up a 26 first. Minnesota just gave you one.
I think he's meaning except us. Like we're the only ones that have accomplished it.
No, 8 have been traded already. A quarter of the first round has been traded already.
No, but this season?
Oh.
No, he means the hype around this draft is built to the point where nobody wants to trade.
Okay.
That's where he's going.
Chicago's got Florida's first-round pick. Boston's got Toronto. San Jose's got Edmonton's. Vancouver has Minnesota's. The Rangers have Dallas's. Calgary has Vegas's. Seattle has Tampa's. The Islanders have Colorado's.
But those have been dealt sometimes
Most of
upwards
those
2
were
years
dealt
ago.
some time ago.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think what he's saying is everybody's pretty excited about 2026, and it's going to be tough to peel one off.
And it's funny because, and we'll have more on Gavin McKenna tomorrow, while the consensus number 1 overall pick has given some ground to his pursuers, namely Ivar Stenberg, but we'll see, maybe Keaton Verhoff, Tynan Lawrence, and others. A bunch of the midfield has really improved here. Like Cam Robinson can't say enough about Chase Reed, this right shot American defenseman playing at Sault Ste. Marie. We know the helium that Caleb Malhotra, Manny's son, has gotten, playing so well for the OHL's Brantford Bulldogs, could lead that league in scoring, and now is moving up draft boards. We talked about where Central Scouting ranked him last year. I think the Latvian kid, Albert Smits, the big left shot defenseman, has advanced his lot in life. He looked pretty good on an underman team at the World Juniors. Same with Viggo Bjork, the Swedish forward, right? And some others. Savanto, the big Finnish centerman, was outstanding at the World Juniors. So I think you've had a number of. I like the big Czech power forward too, Novotny, who's playing in Peterborough.
I think
OHL.
the peak, the pinnacle, the highest bar has actually come down a little bit.
Correct.
Even Stenberg rising to number one in a lot of people. I still think that's still below where everybody ultimately thought that all these, because I don't think anybody sees true generational talent here, but I think everybody sees a big chunk in the middle where they're like, that's a bunch of NHL players there.
Sharenko, the Slovak centerman, was great at the World Juniors. I tuned in Friday. Was it Friday? A little bit to watch the big Finnish power forward Hemming play for Boston College. He's just getting on the ice. He hasn't played a lot this year. I like the two Swedish defensemen too, especially Hankinson, who's gigantic at the World Juniors as well. And we've mentioned J.P. Hurlburt at Kamloops with the Blazers and what he's doing, American forward. Who's lighting up the scoreboard. So, yeah, I think I think there's probably 10, 15 players here in this draft that were looking like first-round picks, maybe some not so much, where scouts are now looking at going, they are having excellent seasons here and improving their draft lot.
And Tannen Lawrence jumps into the university ranks with Cole Iserman on his line, and he's got no points in 5 games. This was always going to be a risk for Tannen Lawrence, and it's not paying off right now.
Let's hear from Patrick Alvin on one more front, and it is on, making more moves at this stage.
What's coming?
I do expect more. If you look around the league, it's just starting here as of lately to pick up a little bit more. So how tight it is out east, and some of the teams still week to week are in and out. I would imagine there is going to be some more transactions coming.
Do you expect this to be a strip it down, get rid of all of your assets, or are you going to need to keep all of them around for some of these younger guys?
Definitely need to keep players around. I don't want to see what happened here the other night, losing 6-0. It's not good for anyone. It's not good for the fans. It's not good for the players. That's not something I'm looking at. We're extremely fortunate to have good veteran players here, good people, more so to teach our young guys. But again, I said it before, if there's making sense for us long term, we definitely look into it. But you also need to be above the floor in the cap world.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about that.
It goes without saying.
A long way to go.
Yeah, and look, so, and with all due respect to Jan Auer in the question, like in no world, like show me an example even of teams that have gone to the studs rebuild where you trade all of your veterans. So, when you ask a question like that, of course they're going to keep some veterans here. I mean, they've got some veterans with no move clauses that are just not going to be willing to move. Yeah. You've got other veterans that who are under contract long enough, who are young enough, that you can envision them being a part of your next competitive cycle. You don't move those guys. I mean, not unless you're absolutely socks knocked. Godfather offers, right? So
I did perk my ears up though a little bit hearing him talk about the last game, because you're going to get beat sometimes. Like San Jose got beat down in the last couple of years, but they are reaping the rewards of it now, right? So saying, "Oh, we want to lose, but we don't want to lose that bad," does it really matter? I think
it matters commercially. I think it matters to the owner and the management
that's
group's
what I was going to say, though.
Egos, because remember, they were trying to be good.
Yeah.
They are horseshit, god-fucking awful, and they were trying to be good. So think of how bad the miscalculation was from the offices of Messieurs Aquilini, Rutherford, and Alvin.
And that's why I'm saying it's a bit of a notable quote, because it tells you that maybe he's been hearing about that 6-0 loss on home ice.
Well, first of all, the Oilers play home games now in Vancouver at Rogers Arena.
There's that too.
The Jets and Oilers play home games here. We're talking about all the 12 selling their ducats to 49ers fans and visiting teams. Oilers have played home games here for a while. Like the Leafs, like the Habs, like the Jets.
Well, now that the Leafs are playing better, Matt, can you imagine what the January 31st
that
game is
game's
going to
be
be
all blue and white.
Like
Are there going to be any Canucks fans in the building?
It could be legitimately 50-50.
So getting utterly embarrassed on home ice for a second Saturday night in a row on the nationally distributed games, yeah, I can understand that the owner doesn't like that the management group doesn't like that.
But I hope it doesn't slow down the rebuild as a
No, I hope
result.
so too. I hope so too. And I think that's a very pertinent question going forward. But the other thing, and we're going to get into this in the days that follow, you are letting a management group that screwed it up this badly conduct your rebuild. Boy, I sure hope they do better in the tearing down and building back up than they did in the attempts to reload and tweak and manufacture a contender on the fly. Granted, tougher assignment.
Okay, but is it right now? I think, and I haven't looked at the poll question results here. I think both of these first two trades here, Matt, are getting thumbs up from the fans.
Yes, they are getting thumbs up from the fans. Of course, what I would say, Blake, and you and I have been at this a long, long time. There are very few trades that the knee-jerk reaction from fans is dislike this trade because they want to
In
believe.
history, I
So
would agree with
there's
you.
a lot of positivity, and oftentimes the early voting on a trade is fueled by optimism and hope.
But when you got 90% polls across the board, no matter what show,
76 on the early voting in this one.
when 90% of the fan base though is voting for a rebuild
Oh, okay.
in every poll that I've seen, I think people have come back to the field about just knee jerk yay. Like this is so. When you go skiing, folks, if you don't have the full chair's worth, you often have a single that joins from the singles line, or in the case of me yesterday, you take on a ski school kid. We took on young Arlo, sat down with 7 years of age. He was seven. We proceeded to have a fully in-depth conversation about tanking and rebuilding. The kid was buttoned down. He said he's only been
7-year-old.
and he said he'd only been following hockey for a year.
Well,
and the guy had every nuance about what a rebuild's supposed to look like, about what you got to tank, you got to keep losing. That's how you get to it. He had it all down. He had the patience. Now, granted, he's got 83 years ahead of him on the planet.
A lot of runway
There's
left
a lot of
for
time
Arlo.
left for Arlo. But he and poor Arlo, we asked him his favorite player, Kiefer Sherwood.
Oh, Arlo.
Sorry, Arlo. But I think
I hope you signed him up to Sekeres Price right there on the left.
he was asked, "Do you watch any media?" No.
Oh, okay.
Got to get him started though.
Yeah.
But no, I just think the fan base is at a point now, Matt, where from 7-year-old Arlo on up, I think people get the
There you go.
the task.
Francesco, Jim, Patrick, from the mouths of babes. 7-year-old Arlo on the Whistler ski lift wants you to rebuild.
Yes, he's ready for
Sees
it.
the merits in it. 7.
Yeah.
That brain is still in formation, and yet it gets it. The synapses connect. Time for a rebuild. What's up with our friends at Yellow Dog?
Well, it's a fun time of year. We're in that transition year where you can still dive into a winter ale. You can start to get some thirst-quenching Pilsner brews, but it is still ski season despite the balmy weather around. So make sure that you check out your local spot for Yellow Dog Neighborhood or Yellow Dog Spirits. They're everywhere. Apex Mountain, Big White, Sun Peak, Silver Star, Whistler Blackcomb, Red Mountain, Revelstoke. They're all pouring the one brand you need. Yellow Dog Neighborhood and Yellow Dog Spirits.
Yes, that game, Saturday.
That was a game.
Dropped a 10th straight game.
The National Hockey League contest.
Saturday, 6-0 to Edmonton. They surrender all 6 in that wretched second period. They've now tied a club record with 10 straight losses. They're 3 away from the organization's all-time record of 13 games without a win. Well, I mean, I guess tonight could be the all-time losses in a row, right? That could happen. The winless streak record could happen later this week should they lose tonight to the Islanders, Wednesday to Washington, Friday to New Jersey. They've lost 7 straight in regulation. That's all 6 on that Eastern road trip and the first game back, which, as we know, tends to be the most difficult game of a homestand, right, when you're just back and getting readjusted. They've lost 11-0 on the aggregate on the last 2 Saturday night Hockey Night in Canada appearances, following that 5-0 embarrassing loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs in Toronto last Saturday. First time this season they've given up 6 goals in a period. Vasily Podkolzin scored the final one, his 11th of the year. He skated on the top line with Connor McDavid.
Which seemed rude. Which
and
seemed rude
was
for Podkolzin.
Another personnel mistake from this management group.
Yeah.
Casting him adrift because, we wanted to sign Daniel Sprong, who lasted about a cup of tea here before he and his attitude were off to Seattle and out of the NHL.
Yeah, where he lasted again, another cup of tea.
Yeah.
I know, the Podkolzin one, a clear mistake and really such an unforced error. Such an unforced
Just didn't like the cut of his jib, came from the previous administration, so I thought we could just cast him off for a 4th-round pick. Wouldn't be. I mean, we always said, it's NHL size. He moves pretty well. He's a defensive player. Okay, maybe he's not going to realize the potential of being a top 10 pick offensively, but there was an NHL player there.
And people often criticize Euros and Russians of being lazy in terms of preparation and stuff like that. Like, that was not Vasily Podkolzin.
No.
That was a kid who was willing to put the work in. And you still cast him.
Yeah, was mature, young family, worker bee. Okay, was never going to be a 40-goal scorer, maybe not even a 25-goal scorer, but there was a serviceable NHL player there on a pretty decent ticket, and they decided to move on. And, of course, the Oilers did this minus Leon Draisaitl, who took leave to tend to a personal matter. Kevin Lankinen was under the weather, so he backed up. That left poor Nikita Tolopilo to face that dangerous Edmonton offense, although their power play only struck once. Tolopilo allows 6 goals on 35 shots and was dispatched to Abbotsford yesterday for journeyman netminder Yuri Patera, who was recalled. So was EPD. Elias Pettersson is back up with the Vancouver Canucks as Victor Mancini goes back to Abbotsford to make way.
Okay, on Tolopilo. Was it a ruining performance for Nikita Tolopilo?
God, I sure hope not. There were things about Tolopilo that I quite liked. When you say worrying, you mean...
No, ruining.
Ruining. You mean ruining from the standpoint of...
Did it wreck the kid?
Yeah.
Did it wreck the organization's opinion of the kid? Those are the two.
Well, I
ways.
sure hope it doesn't wreck the organization's opinion of the kid. I mean, to isolate one game against one of the better offensive teams in the NHL when you're so ghastly, so horrible, on such a losing streak, first game back of a homestand,
and Matt, here's
I would
the
hope
thing.
it's not wrecked.
His save percentage didn't even suffer that badly. His save percentage is still almost as good as Kevin Lankinen's, even with that performance in tow.
The bottom line, Blake, I'm not sure there's an NHL goaltender there, but I think we're going to find out. I think he's going to play more this year.
Yeah.
If they sent him back down to help his confidence a little bit after a performance like that.
Which is probably part of it.
And let's face it, he wasn't going to play tonight anyways, and you're playing every second night. So as long as Lankinen is healthy, and again, it was supposed to be an illness.
I think you want somebody to play maybe like the Penguins game on the 25th or the Sharks game on the 27th.
Well, Demko seems to be on the road here to recovery, so we'll see if Demko can get back in there. But yeah, Tolopilo, 881 save, 398 goals against average now. He is 2-3 in 5 starts, 6 appearances this year for the Canucks. Patera has played the one game it was a loss. He gave up 7 goals. So, If you are worried about the losing getting to young players, there was an example Saturday, Blake, in the form of Zeev Buium, who goes back to the bench and slams his stick after a particularly rough shift, as Tyson Cole noted of Canucks Army and occasionally rink-wide Vancouver as well. He lost his man on the Roslovic goal, and then later in the shift lost his assignment again. Kapanen at the net front, who scores also, so it was -2 on one shift. Buium has had some struggles here defensively. We loved what we saw in the early going. He was really flying upon the trade from Minnesota, where it's pretty clear a young man looked at it and said, I'm going to get some opportunity here that wasn't available to me in Minnesota. And that is true. That is true to this day. But he was known as not fully polished and formed yet as a defensive player, and we're watching some of those struggles unfold.
Let me bounce something off of you here to start from the start of the season till now. We all saw Quinn Hughes' performance as a Vancouver Canuck this season before he was traded. That was not the Quinn Hughes that we normally see. He was not as productive and not as stalwart defensively as we're used to seeing him either. Zeev Buium comes back in that trade. Everybody sung his praises as what he did in Minnesota. He has struggled here in Vancouver. Marcus Pettersson comes over in a trade. Everybody loves Marcus Pettersson, so good defensively. So he has struggled since the start of this season. Are we noting the trend here that there's a lot of...
Are you saying it's the Adam Foote system?
I'm saying there's a through line here.
Yeah.
There's multiple cases now where defensemen that are pretty capable are looking incapable. Tyler Myers has not been great this year.
No. And actually, I thought Myers was a little better earlier in the year than we saw recently. And
Filip Hronek's the only one who's thrived.
I just don't get how the guy responsible for the defenseman gets the big whistle, changes the system to their detriment, and then refuses to go back. Like, why wouldn't you just keep on keeping on? You got a lot of things going as a head coach, especially a rookie in the NHL head coach. Why wouldn't you just say, okay, I'm going to tab someone to be my replacement, coach the defenseman as we've coached the defenseman? Because remember, the penalty kill made tremendous strides last year. It was top 5 unit when it was all said and done.
And let me throw this at you.
And then I'm going to worry about the stuff that's new, that's different. I feel like I have the defenseman. Maybe autopilot is too strong, but taken care of, looked after. I've put in my time and work with those guys for the last 2-3 years. It's just astounding to me.
So Adam Foote is probably pretty, well, he's astute enough
like
anyway.
Defensive structure, posture, 5-man skating units helping the goaltender out was a strength of the Vancouver Canucks. Even through parts of last year was a strength for them.
Adam Foote is astute enough to know that this is not a very good team as they are currently lined up. He is astute enough to know they are not going to win a lot of games the rest of the way. But what Adam Foote can do that is good for Adam Foote's career is to make the losses look a little less catastrophic than 6-0 and 5-0 on successive Saturdays. And Matt, that's, to me, what should be the motivating factor for Adam Foote. After all, he's pretty sure, team success is not going to happen. But individual success, Adam Foote could come off looking like a good coach if he mitigates damage the rest of the way. And his next job may hang in the balance for how he coaches this team both the rest of this year and next. And that, to me, the only way that he comes out looking at all redeemable here is if he limits the embarrassment and limits the damage. And that, to me, means making a system that will accommodate that. Put your players into a system that will limit the damage.
Yep. And if he's unable to achieve that, Blake, and you are smack dab in the bottom with cushion, I do think there's a world where you have to move on him this year and go, okay, we don't want any more damage done. That was Vancouver's worst loss to the Oilers in nearly 30 years. The last time the Oilers beat the Canucks that badly was December 23rd, 1996. Beat them 7-0. Canucks' last home win, as we talk about yet another pathetic season on home ice. I mean, I would bet it came out of the mouths of every single media member who follows the Vancouver Canucks back in September. Oh, well, they have to bounce back at home this year, right? They can't possibly be as bad at home this year as they were last year. No, they are really fucking bad at home. 4-13-3. A second consecutive season where they're shockingly
and not even the
bad
third
at home.
column is helping you out. Like,
No.
say, like if you had 4 wins, but you had 8,
Rangers
SOLs.
have been shut out at home 6 times, have 5 wins at the Garden at least. Canucks have 4. 1 per month, baby. 1 in October, 1 November, 1 December, 1 January. Here we are.
Goals against per game right now, the Vancouver Canucks are 3.65. They are running away with 31st or 1st, depending on how you want to flip that stat. So
Yeah, and according to JFresh, most expected goals against Vancouver last in that category as well.
So again, per our talk on foot, if you can say from this point on, January 19th on, they changed it at practice, they changed the defensive system, and the Canucks only averaged 3 goals against per game, which 3 right now is like 19th in the league. Like, again, that would be a win. Like, you're still going to lose most of your games. The losing probably doesn't change at all.
Yeah. Blake, I think the one thing that is becoming clear is that you can't have Adam Foote back next year. Like, this is going to be one and done for Foote, right?
I mean, I'm not as confident in that sentence as you are.
Really?
No.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Filip, Teddy Bluger on the comeback trail. But here's what life without bona fide NHL centerman looks like. J-Pat and the Rink White crew had a go at this post-game on Saturday night. Mike, do you have that graphic? Did I give you that graphic? Yeah, Besser, 1 goal in 23. DeBrusk, 1 at 5-on-5 all season. Connor Garland has last scored against a goaltender.
November 26th.
Yeah.
Empty netter in December, that's it.
So we're coming on 2 months, and Evander Kane with 1 goal in 15 games. One of these guys should be next.
Yeah, like you get Patrick Ovin can't say, no, you need to keep the veterans around because of this.
Because of this.
Do you? Really?
Really.
They might be part of the problem.
Want to show them how to be pros. Well, certainly not pros on the ice. This isn't professional production on the ice.
The kids are outscoring all these guys.
Exactly.
So who's helping who at this point?
And for people asking why, well, we heard from Filip yesterday after practice. And the first thing I'll say is I applaud the young man for wanting to get back. I can only imagine how down in the dumps he was when he suffered that latest concussion, and how looking at it and throwing the towel, I mean, that I imagine that could have been pretty easy. That he's on the comeback trail took some gumption, right? It took something within him saying, no, you're not going to quit yet. Now, it may not be the wise choice here. And for people wanting to know why Hedl would risk coming back, especially in a season like this, after, 6 known concussions in his career, maybe more, he addressed that after Saturday's or Sunday's practice. Here's Filip Hedl talking about how he has the full support of his family.
Sure, yeah, everybody's with me, of course. Yeah, guys, you have your own job to make an articles and saying the things about the injury. You're creating your own stuff in the media. But yeah, that's your job. Sometimes, even for my family, when they know from me from the first hand what's going on, sometimes they read here or even in Czech some stuff, what's not helping them as well. And then, of course, there's been some stuff at the press conference in Czech national team as well. So it was nice to hear that, when even people who doesn't know the situation where I am speaks about it and making statements what they don't know about, they know nothing about. So it's been hard. But yeah, I got my whole family behind me, and I'm focusing on myself right now.
And there's some instructiveness there. He's right. Only he and his closest medical advisors know exactly what's going on. There's some defensiveness there, and I get that as well.
Which leads you to believe, that comment leads you to believe.
There's also some defiance there too, right? Like that he does sound like he wants to get back and being an NHL player, talking, this is my job, you guys have yours.
But it sounds like he's speaking to a nuance about his condition that we don't know about, that he wasn't willing to share there, which is fine. But it speaks to him knowing, that's just what you have to extrapolate from that this is being treated like, oh, he's got another concussion.
Well, he does. I mean, that was confirmed.
But that he's, in a terrible way, and he's in a
that's it.
And
I understand what he's saying.
That's not the case.
Because a lot of people on the media side think, oh, concussion, he's in a dark room right now with no stimuli.
Yeah.
Where that isn't always the case.
Well, in fact, it's not the case. Shouldn't be the case. They've completely thrown that approach out now.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the people who I've heard most detail their battle is the former BC Lions quarterback Dave Dickinson, now Calgary Stampeders head coach and GM. And I've heard Dave talk about it in terms of he could be having a perfect day, kids at the park, watches his daughter on the swing, and something about that motion triggers.
Yeah. Everybody's different,
and
too.
everyone's different, too.
Yeah.
He was asked about the hit from Tom Wilson that delivered this latest concussion. Here's what he had to say. Here's Hedel.
Yeah, there was some moments I could avoid. Of course, that hit was a little bit late, but it's part of the game. When I look back, of course, there's details what I could do different, but in that speed, in that moment, you're not thinking about those too much. And of course, I had a lot of time now to work on a lot of things, and yeah, that hit it's behind me now. I can learn from it, and I cannot forget about it because you can take so much stuff from it. But I just have to work now to avoid those hits.
That hit was October 19th. We're January 19th, so 4 months to the day?
It was
3 months to the day.
You don't need to relitigate it. It was a predatory hit, though. And
yeah, he said it's a little late. It was more than that, Filip. It was a terrible hit.
But the other part of that hit that I don't think I articulated well at the time was Wilson knows as he's going to lay that hit, this will have no bearing on this hockey play because the puck was gone, and I think Tom Wilson could see that he was making a pass. At which point, this is not affecting the hockey play. The puck has moved on to somebody new.
Yeah.
You're, quote-unquote, finishing your check. But in open ice, that's a hell of a lot different than it is along the boards. And that's
especially blind or lateral side, yeah.
That's where I've got a problem with it, is
predatory.
An open ice hit on a guy that is fully carrying the puck and you know that he's going to continue. That's a little bit different. Everybody in the arena knew
he
that
would
he was
say
passing that
the
puck.
decisions come at speed and
That's
all
what
that.
he would say.
But you do have to be responsible for your actions on the ice. Lastly, from Hedel, he says he doesn't want to change the way he plays the game.
No, I don't want to change my game. As how I said, there's some details which I can change, but not much. If I would change whole game, I would be a totally different player, and I don't want to be. I just have to make those details to be more productive, to help the team more, and as a main point, I have to be healthy, because if I'm not healthy, I cannot do all these things. So it's now up to me, and I have to learn from it and go on now.
You also may have picked up on him saying about things being said in Czechia in that first clip we played. So the story here is that the head coach of the Czechia team for the Olympics didn't call to check on him at any point.
Never checked in on him. He doesn't think they ever had a grasp of where he's at.
And of course, he was left off the Czechia Olympic roster, at least as it was announced.
He also referenced the fact that the guy had said he was supposed to have played 2 weeks ago. This is when the Czech team was announced, so 3 weeks ago. And he's like, where did they get that? And like, why was I supposed to be playing? He knew he would be playing before the Olympics. And so he thinks that should carry the day.
All right. Vancouver not the only team making a big trade here. It seems like the trade wheels have been greased and locked a little bit. The Calgary Flames, a huge deal, finally moving right shot defenseman Rasmus Andersson with 50% of his salary retained to the Vegas Golden Knights for defenseman Zach Whitecloud. Vegas's first-round pick in 2027, although it is top 10 protected. Now, I can't imagine that Vegas will be that bad to be picking in the top 10 next season, but who knows? Plenty could happen. We've seen playoff teams, division winners, come crashing down to earth.
Well, especially if they win the Cup. If they win the Cup, they might feel like they can dust off their hands a little bit and regroup.
And they also get, the Flames do, a 2028 second-round pick, but that can be a first-round pick if Vegas does win a Cup, plus the rights to defenseman Abram Wiebe, who's got British Columbian with British Columbia pedigree in his background. Hockey background. So Calgary owns Vegas's 26th first-round pick, should probably own Vegas's 27 first-round pick, and may wind up owning Vegas's 28 first-round pick when this is all said and done. Blake, I got to say, though, I think Calgary could have gotten close to a Quinn Hughes-like return last year for Rasmus Andersson. He was cheap. He was right shot. He was an all-situations defenseman coming off a fantastic season. And they waited, and they dithered on him, and he had a poor year last year. And then this year he was a little harder to play ball with as a UFA to be. I mean, teams would have had him for 2 playoff runs last year. I think Craig Conroy and the Flames really missed the boat in terms of not getting ahead of this file earlier.
I don't think it's that bad of a return, to be honest. I'll say that I think that because I don't think Rasmus Andersson is that great a player. I don't think that
I have always been a bigger fan of Andersson than you have.
Yeah, I think he's a nice player. I'd have him on my team, but I would
top 4 by any stretch. I mean, he's top pair even.
You see, I think that's strong. I think he's a middle pair guy, and I think he's Nikita Zadorov.
Oh gosh, Blake, no.
That's how I see him.
He's a much better player now. Come on,
no,
it's better with the puck.
Better with the puck than Nikita Zadorov?
Well, look at his stats, Blake. Come on.
I don't think his stats support him being that great a player. I think his stats have...
He's a 50-point defenseman. He's a 49-point defenseman, a 39-point. He's been over 10 goals 3 times. Come on. Like, Zadorov isn't touching this. Anyways, despite our different opinion, I mean, look at his minutes played, too.
Zadorov's a 14-goal scorer at one point.
Once.
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess part of this depends on what they do with Whitecloud. Now, Whitecloud has never averaged more than 1848 per game. He's at 1846 this year for Vegas, had been in the 17s for most of the last 3 years. So really, that's like a third pair defenseman, maybe bordering on second pair defenseman. I'll say this on Whitecloud, it's a reasonable ticket. Like, I'm not sweating having to pay him $275 for the rest of this year, next, and the year thereafter. I do wonder whether or not Calgary believes that Whitecloud is a part of their future competitiveness. He'll be 30 in the early going next year. But if they move him on for a good young asset, then suddenly you're taking a look at least 3, maybe 4 if Wiebe turns out to be, in which case it would look somewhat better.
Just looking at Jay Fresh's Rasmus Andersson card, 24% WAR.
Yeah, Jay Fresh has always been down on him.
Offense at 61%, defense at 7%.
Yeah, defensive play certainly fell off with Andersson the last year and a bit, and I think that's part and parcel of the reason why they should have moved him earlier.
Oh, absolutely. Like last year, you get the 1.5-year runway. You should have moved him there.
Let's get to today's menu. It's brought to you by our friends at Greta. Greta, fantastic spot to catch all the games home and away. You're a mere steps from the arena or the stadium. If you're planning a party, a team building, social event, family reunion, hockey team party, whatever the case may be, check out Greta. It's got the awesome menu of street food, very unpretentious, and of course the arcade that encircles the bar game for everyone. You'll have hours of fun. For more info or to book your event, go to gretabar.com, Greta 50 West Cordova. Let the games begin. We're going to talk to Darren Dreger here. We're going to talk to John Shannon here. Full disclosure, we had recorded interviews with those two gentlemen. Then the Kiefer Sherwood trade got announced, and so we brought them back on, and we asked them for their takes about the deal. Later in the program, we'll talk NFL playoffs, where the Seattle Seahawks are off to the NFC Championship game. They will host the arch nemesis L.A. Rams. The Whitecaps are in Spain, yet they are hunting some players, especially on the wing. Canada's men's national team played on the weekend and got a win. There are ex-Whitecaps and British Columbia-based stories in soccer that we're going to get to, as well as the PGA Tour's opening event in Hawaii, where there was BC and Canadian content there, and of course the Aussie Open Down Under, which is ongoing. All of that coming up on the program today. Time now for our Bet365 bets of the day. Boy, Blake, I've been very good on the NFL this year. I lost a number of games this weekend, so I'm going to stay away from the NFL. I'm going to go on the college football playoff game. I like Indiana to win, but it's Miami in Miami, and they're awesome on defense, so I'm going to take 7.5 with the Hurricanes.
Is there any props on Michael Irvin on the sideline?
Oh, my goodness, we should look at that. Belt to ass, Michael Irvin.
I
saw the SNL sketch, but I didn't necessarily – I don't think he captured him quite. I didn't find it all that funny. They were trying to get to it. They were almost there.
They were there.
Yeah. They were right there.
Yeah.
But they missed it. Kind of like a Canucks game in the third period.
Canucks and Islanders tonight.
Yes.
What does this trade do for the room? Kiefer Sherwood is not a shrinking violet in that room.
They won 4 in a row after the Hughes deal.
They did. You're right.
It's like they were shocked.
But they also probably saw that was coming, and they saw this one was coming too. But he's a lack of energy out of the room, even though he wasn't scheduled to play tonight anyhow. I think the losing continues. I just think it does.
This would be a record.
So the question would be, do I go money line to minus 140, or do I take them with some cushion? And I think I'm going to get the cushion.
Yeah, I think so.
Islanders minus 1.5 pays out a plus 175.
Yeah. You tell them that for free?
Well, I was going to mention that.
You got the tell them for free guy in town.
I was going to mention that Sherwood was certainly not of the, and I'll tell you that for free, tone, was he? Like he was so flattering of the organization. Yeah. There was.
Well, Bo says he was told one thing and they did the other. So Bo still has or had axe to grind there. This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game, use code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. Darren Dreger next. Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center.
And this segment brought to you by your Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. It just cures itself. It's empty. It has no energy left. And then you plug it in the evening, and you wake up, and everything's okay.
Voila.
Everything's okay. You can drive almost everywhere you want. 72 kilometers of electric range, folks, every single morning when you wake up, as long as you remember to plug it in. That's on you. It's pretty easy.
It's just a regular plug-in. No special charger.
And we got the gas tank there if you do need to go any farther. But it is a fabulous vehicle. Go take one for a test drive if you feel like you're driving a rocket ship. So much fun. The Hybrid SE right now from 109 weekly at 3.99% APR for 64 months. That's with $3,300 down. Just visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer.
NHL trade season is upon us. Big one yesterday with the Flames and Golden Knights, and of course the Vancouver Canucks in the crosshairs of a lot of this. We welcome in TSN Hockey Insider, one half of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, Mr. Darren Dreger, to explain further. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I haven't shaved in a couple of days.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
yeah. Well, you wear it better than I do. It takes me like a week to look like I haven't shaved. But it does this, we're getting to that window of where February 4th, the Olympic freeze isn't that far away. Mm-hmm. And, it normally does take one or two trades, and then the rest of the hockey world goes, okay, maybe we better get after it here. And, of course, it started with Vancouver and Minnesota with the Quinn Hughes trade. But the Rasmus Anderson trade is a big one as well. And teams are taking notice. And because of that, as we have this conversation on Monday morning, I do get the sense that there are some other trades that are down the path here. So it could be an interesting week.
And before we get to Kiefer Sherwood, and we think something's brewing there, and Jake DeBrusk, should ask you, Dregs, because the last couple of years, we've seen the holiday roster freeze work as kind of a mini deadline where GMs wanted to get some business done. Are you treating this February 4th Olympic roster deadline likewise? Like, do you think there's a lot of teams and GMs that want their business done by then?
Well, if not done, they're going to try as hard as they can to get it done. And I think that alleviates some of the pressure then when you come out of the Olympic break and you're looking at March 6th. What is that, 11, 12 days? Something like that. Now you've got an infinite period of time. And it sways heavily in the favor of the seller at that point. But guys, more and more now, we're looking around the league and we're seeing more sellers pop into the market. That's what we're seeing. Calgary gets the jump here. They move Rasmus Anderson, priority one. He was the first piece that was going to go that matters. Now we shift over and we look at Nazem Kadri, what might come there. Now I'm also looking at other teams. I'm looking at the St. Louis Blues. It sounds like Doug Armstrong super wants to be aggressive. And if you're anywhere over the age of 23 years of age, then I'm interested in moving that piece. Okay, well, now there's another team, right? So that kind of, it doesn't settle the market, it fuels it, because if you're a seller again, you're looking at it and going, okay, well, geez, I've had this many conversations on my player, but now there's another team. There's another two teams that have forwards that are in play. Maybe a defenseman that we didn't know was in play is now in play. And that just adds a little bit more complexity to what you're trying to do. So I do think it's going to be busy between now and the 4th.
Dregs, big trade. Kiefer Sherwood off to San Jose for a couple of second-round picks and a journeyman depth defenseman. What did you make of the deal? How'd it come together?
Well, I mean, for the Vancouver Canucks to close on this deal, even though, speculation was developing, my sources around the league, including San Jose and Vancouver, indicated that there was something in play. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit surprised that it happened as early as it did. I thought that it would drift into the later stages of the day or into Monday evening. But I think what changed it, I know what changed it, was that second pick. So the second round pick being included in the trade by the San Jose Sharks. That's what encouraged Patrick Allvin and Jimmy Rutherford to say, okay, you know what? Could we do better? Maybe, but probably not. So what are we waiting for? Let's just cut bait and move on. And as you said, Matt, they get a depth defenseman. I mean, this is a journeyman American Hockey League player. I mean, the book hasn't closed on Cole Clayton. He's a 25-year-old right shot. So there's opportunity at both levels, American League and at the NHL level, if given a chance. But obviously the Canucks management felt like it wasn't going to get any better. And they had already softened to a degree. I think initially when Kiefer Sherwood was put into play with the other pending unrestricted free agents and other players, the hope and expectation was that they might be able to lure a first-round draft pick out of someone. And there are going to be the naysayers out there, guys, around the NHL. In fact, I've already gotten a couple of texts from people that I trust inside the hockey world, not media, who say, I don't understand why they made this move this quickly. Maybe if you wait a little bit longer, then there is that deal. Okay, I appreciate that. But look, the Calgary Flames rolled the dice on Rasmus Andersson and playing him twice before trading him. I mean, stuff happens. Players get hurt all the time. Why risk that sort of thing if you're, kind of on the fence here a little bit? So again, that second round draft pick is why the Vancouver Canucks just decided, all right, let's pull the trigger and get it done. It's probably not getting better.
He's a UFA. He's got no trade protection. Yeah. Is there lobbying from the player and the agent still, though, saying, can you make this deal sooner rather than later? Like, did that ultimately play out, do you think?
I don't think so. Like, there'd be discussion. I think that, Patrick Allvin has been very open with Judd Moldaver, the agent for Kiefer Sherwood. I think that it became pretty obvious in the not too distant history that, Vancouver wasn't going to extend him. And I mean, as soon as you start using words like rebuild, that you're pushing away from your unrestricted free agents. It's always better for the player. But look, again, Rutherford comes from the school, especially whereby he believes in the theory that if you can trade a player or acquire a player sooner rather than later, well in advance of the trade deadline, that benefits everybody. Because in this case, San Jose gets Kiefer Sherwood, and he's got time to acclimate to his surroundings. And, the coach in San Jose can move him throughout his lineup and see where is the best fit, which is often why when you get those rental pieces right at the trade deadline, they don't often work out. They don't. There have been a number who have, but normally they don't. So I think this is more about San Jose taking advantage of a player that they believe isn't just in a career year, that he's a decent player who's going to build on what they already have there. And I'd be surprised if the San Jose Sharks don't try pretty hard to extend Kiefer Sherwood. They've got the cap space. They obviously have the want for what he brings, and it makes sense to get the early look, get him to fit in, and then the money and the negotiating with Judd Moldaver kind of looks after itself down the road.
And the market speaks for itself too. It's a decent hockey market with a great place to live. Everybody raves about it. So yeah, you're right. They might have had that confidence going into it as well. The 2 second rounders instead of a first. How big of a downgrade is that? It's obviously a downgrade, but you get 2 looks at 2 different drafts, and that's the other thing. They wanted to flood this year's draft, and that's fine. Yeah. That's a fun thing to do, but you want to have your ass covered a little bit on the next year's draft too, depending on how that builds and how deep that ultimately that becomes. So will we start to see them populate the 2027 draft now as we get closer to the deadline, do you think?
You could, but when you're acquiring draft picks, they can turn into prospects, right? And young NHL players too. You're not going to draft all the picks, or if you do draft the picks that you have, when you're accumulating draft picks, you're never going to be able to sign all of those players. So for a team that's headed into the rebuild, sure, that's currency, but it's currency in different forms. So I think in saying that, there's value. And that second round pick in 2026 this summer, that's going to be a decent pick because, as we know, the 26th draft is believed to be pretty deep. It's certainly deep, and there'll be some jostling back and forth in the top 5, certainly in the top 3 of the draft. But the deeper you go into the first round, those are quality players. And then that doesn't change a whole lot getting into the second round. So I think in that respect, the Vancouver Canucks have done well. But you're always trying to add to your cupboard when you're looking at first clearly, but then seconds and even thirds, because you can use those to turn into bigger deals down the road.
Let's move on to the rest of the roster because everyone is for sale, as we know, here on the Vancouver Canucks. And let's maybe just throw out one name off the list. And I think for me, Elias Pettersson and Filip Hronek are the least likely to be traded just because of their utility. and the fact they both seem like they want to stay here. Alan Walsh tweeting out on Twitter, "This is just wasted air to talk about it. Great players are in demand everywhere, but the NHL is not fantasy hockey. Why bring up players that are not available for trade? Vancouver management and coaches are happy with Phil, and Phil has no interest in going anywhere else." Is that, Darren? Should we just throw away the Hronek possibility here?
Well, I can't throw it away, but I do. Look, Alan Walsh is a very direct player representative, right? Good, bad, and the ugly, man. He's gonna call it like he sees it. And that cuts both ways. You also know when one of Walsh's clients is unhappy, or he sees a better fit somewhere else, or it's just time for a change because certain media will be reporting on it, or Walsh himself will weigh into social media and say, well, here's what's going on. There's no gray area with Alan Walsh. So that's why when he tweets something that direct, he's not expecting to get blindsided by Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford. He's not. And he includes Adam Foote, the head coach, in that by saying the coaches are happy with him as well. I guess the one reason, look, you never box yourself in. I learned this from the best, and the best is Bob McKenzie. You always give yourself a bit of wiggle room. So in that sense, I would say that, to your point, like the majority of the lineup, the majority of the roster is more or less in play for the Vancouver Canucks. So as Alan is reporting on that, and we're talking about it in the moment, that's, I'm sure, accurate. How do you know what's going to unfold in the days ahead here? How do you know? Somebody walks in and says, here's an offer, man. Patrick, what do you think? Well, let me run it by Jimmy and I'll get back to you. Jimmy loves it. Okay, let's make a deal. Now I'm being ridiculous and how simplistic that sounds, but in the moment, I wouldn't question Alan Walsh, but there's still a lot of time between now and March 6th.
That sounds like a tweet that Alan's saying, don't bother bringing me a trade. We don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to look at what you've been offered by, that's what it sounds like to me.
What about? And look, he is, again, fiercely protective of his guys, especially those with any trade protection. So this is Alan trying to nip something in the bud before it takes us to the Jake DeBrusk situation, right? And that's probably where it's headed.
Was my next question, Dregs. Great segue. He's also a no-move guy, although he does not have Alan Walsh as an agent. And, as I go around Vancouver, a lot of people say to me, do you not think DeBrusk is going to be okay with a trade? Because he didn't sign up for this last summer, right? He thought he was joining a contender, and this is very much a team that's heading towards a rebuild. What are you hearing on DeBrusk?
Well, again, Vancouver's in a spot where they've got to take calls and listen to whatever interest there is. And as soon as you healthy scratch a player, a veteran player, a player who certainly wasn't expecting to be a healthy scratch, well, that gets the attention. And it gets the attention of all hockey clubs in the market, but it also obviously gets the media attention. So we start talking about it and wondering and speculating, and then that amps up the interest and the wonder of all the NHL clubs out there. Social media is a wonderful tool to get that message spread by, just mass hysteria. And it hasn't reached that point with Jake DeBrusk. But what I would tell you, we just talked about Alan Walsh and Phil Hronek. Rick Vallette is the agent for Jake DeBrusk. So in doing my due diligence, as I do several times over the course of the week, I reached out to him this morning. I'm like, look, I keep seeing Jake's name in media speculating and all of that. When I ask the Canucks, they just simply say, look, we're not going to talk about a specific player. We're getting calls on lots of players, more calls on some than others. So no real answer specific to Jake DeBrusk, but what are you hearing? Well, nobody from the Vancouver Canucks has had a single conversation with us about the possibility of trade, right? And so what are we talking about here? Is it just pure media speculation? Are teams calling? Is it a little bit of both? Yes. I'm answering my own questions here. Yes. But obviously, if Jake DeBrusk is a primary target and the Vancouver Canucks feel like there's a 2, 3, 4 team market, that there's a decent chance they could trade Jake DeBrusk in that contract, then they got to get the agent involved. They've got to get the player involved ASAP. And the fact that that hasn't happened tells me it's more about guys like me and collectively us in the media just trying to put pieces of a puzzle together that aren't there yet.
Yeah. Teddy Blueger's such a great utility club on your last line, maybe even as much as your third line, but he hasn't played basically all season long. Can he play his way into a trade chip here for the management in Vancouver?
Potentially. Yeah, potentially. I speak from a coaching perspective now. They like the idea of an experienced player like that helping them in the area of need, but, also, again, being, a source of resource for the younger guys to be able to lean on as well. And I keep going back to Calgary, and Calgary and Vancouver are in a different place, but it's important to have players still within your organization, in the room, on the roster, on the ice, that are going to help you in every area. You got to stay competitive. You can't cut it right down to the wood. You can't. So with all due respect to Teddy Blueger, what are you getting for Teddy Blueger trade-wise?
Yeah, who knows how much.
The market will determine that. Like, I'm not saying that there's no value in that player. Of course there is. He's a good dude. And when healthy, he's an effective player. But you're talking about a draft pick on March 6th. Whatever that pick looks like will be determined by what else is available. And chances are it's probably a deal that goes down at 2:55 Eastern, just before the 3 o'clock trade deadline. So I would never slam the door and say no, but they're going to need help moving forward when all the bigger pieces are moved.
On this Rasmus Andersson trade, Dregs, first of all, gosh, I don't know why Calgary wouldn't have moved him last year. They weren't going anywhere last year. I thought last year he might have been worth something close to a Quinn Hughes package. He came out, had not as great a year. Is there intent to keep Whitecloud, or is he trade fodder as well? And how did they do based on the people who were weighing in with you?
Well, I think they did okay, if not better than okay, because as we talked about earlier, you've got the first, you've got the conditional second in 28 that could be a first if the Golden Knights win a Stanley Cup. I don't know a whole lot about Abram Wiebe. I don't. He's a prospect defenseman at UND. In Zach Whitecloud, they get a big, strong, competitive, puck-moving defenseman. That can be a chip. Like, let's, again, just see how things play out here for the Calgary Flames. Beloved in the Vegas market. An absolute fan favorite was Zach Whitecloud. So I think, by and large, the Flames did okay. But it was curious how this all came together. Kelly McCrimmon didn't have a whole lot of assets to play with here. But I'm sure that he got in early, as he always does. He knows that Vegas is a destination of choice, both geographically and because, every player has a chance to win a Stanley Cup when you throw on that Vegas Golden Knights jersey. That's just real, right? He makes his pitch, and then he lets everyone else around the NHL exhaust themselves. It reminds me of what we just saw in Major League Baseball last week with Tucker signing with the Dodgers. It's like, Toronto, blow your brains out. You fill your boots. You make 10 offers. All these teams around Major League Baseball making their offers on Kyle Tucker, and the Dodgers are sitting there going, okay, are we done here? Are we done? We'll give you 4 years at $60 million. Does that work? Good? Okay. All right, that works for us. Everybody move on. Honestly, it's like, and it's not like McCrimmon and company don't work hard. They work incredibly hard, but they've built a program that players want to go to and they want to stay. And that's what's going to happen here. We all know what's going to happen. Rasmus Andersson, he put the Flames in a pickle yesterday morning, as Craig Conroy acknowledged, by saying, okay, I no longer am willing to sign with any team. I don't want to sign with anybody. So trade me as a rental, trade me to the best package you can get. I'll go wherever you need me to go, but I'm not signing. Well, at that point, then Conroy looked at the deals that he had, and the best deal that he had evidently was with the Vegas Golden Knights, and it got done that quickly.
You mentioned other sellers. Calgary could still sell more, although Murray Edwards tried to pour some cold water on that. And then there's another Rangers letter that has dropped since we last talked to you. Does that mean they're selling too? And what? I mean, we need to now open a Rangers library, perhaps, to stock all of the literary works of the front office.
Going in the National Archives.
Yeah, I mean, they're just selling hope and trying to make sure that their season ticket base doesn't just collapse, right? That's clearly what they're doing there. And, it would have been encouraged by ownership. James Dolan and family probably unsettled by the chanting of Fire Drury and the booing at MSG and all of that. But when you look at the pieces that they have in play, they've got some interesting pieces. But most of those guys have, again, contract coverage. Artemi Panarin, just because Chris Drury and the Rangers put out a letter saying that we're no longer interested in extending him. So what? He's just going to say, okay, well, here are 8 teams that I'm willing to go to. No, he's got a full no move. So he's going to want to go to the Florida Panthers, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Dallas Stars. I mean, that's my wiggle room. And maybe that list is shorter than that. Otherwise, why would he do it? Why would he do it? He's going to have his pick of the litter as an unrestricted free agent. He's still a damn good hockey player. And I was told that even though they didn't go into the weeds of a negotiation earlier in the year, they were hoping that they were going to get him on a significant discount. And, Paul Theophanos is the elusive Paul Theophanos. He's like Snuffleupagus. Like, you never see this guy as a player agent around the NHL. I think he basically said, yeah, you can go pound sand. We'll see how this plays out. But, beyond Panarin, name any player you want. There's lots of players there of interest, but we'll see how deep that knife is going to cut. They got to be careful because that fan base can be fickle there as well.
A lot of money in term, as you mentioned, on a lot of those players.
Yeah.
It'll be tough.
Yeah. And, even strategically, come out and say, we're not going to be offering him a contract. Why wouldn't you leave that possibility
I don't know. Doesn't
You've
make
only
any
boxed
sense.
yourself in more arrangements.
No.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Great stuff, Dregs. Busy time of year. Look forward to next week already. Thank you, sir.
Okay, guys. Thank you.
So, Garrison Price from the historic Wall Center.
We got some breaking news here, Matt. So just take a pause here and listen to what I have to say.
Hit me. I'm ready.
Pizza is slicing the price. A 4-topping large pizza for $13.99.
4 toppings. Large. Are you sure? You want to double check the copy there?
We've entered a wormhole to 1994. That's what that price is.
It really is.
It's about 40% off the regular price, and yes, 4 toppings. It's perfect for game night, whether you're settling in for puck drop, watching along overtime, delivery, or pickup. It's easy, fast, great value. Slice the price at Pizza is on now. Order at pizzapizza.ca or on the Pizza app.
John Shannon is the former executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada, his podcast 100% Hockey. He is also the most famous man from Oliver, British Columbia, who goes back with the Vancouver Canucks through the entirety of their NHL existence in 1970. And John,
you've seen the losing.
you might be amongst the most qualified to answer. Is this the lowest points for this franchise?
I'm going to say no, but it's pretty darn close. I think that when you look at events that went on, I remember going to the Coliseum. Gosh, boys, 8,200 people. It was not a friendly place to go to. Tickets were easy to come by. I would suggest this might be the lowest since they moved downtown.
Do you think at the end of the season we're going to hear, some people will call them excuses, certainly, but are we going to hear about the Miller-Pettersson thing and about how Hughes wanted out and that there was no way to avoid this precipitous fall from grace?
No, I don't, but that doesn't mean it won't be talked about. I think at a certain point, people would be tired of hearing that. And then really, in the end, it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it that matters.
Yep.
And so from that perspective, I think that this ownership / management group is trying to salvage something at this point. They understand, I think, what's gone on, why it's gone on, and now you've got to find a way to rectify it. I mean, the Quinn Hughes situation, with the 3 bodies they were able to get plus a first-round pick, it wasn't going to be an overnight remedy, but at the same time, hopefully Rossi, Ogren, are 3 warm bodies that can help your roster at some point. None of them are Quinn Hughes, but you weren't, and Quinn Hughes' time had grown here. It was done. You could see it on him. You could see it on the team. So they had to do something, and they did it quickly. That's what they did. They did it quickly and got, I think, pretty fair return for the defender. So
at worst, a reasonable haul. The question now is, I think there are some fans of the outright fans of the deal, and I think the pessimists would probably just call it fair or reasonable at best, but it's somewhere in there. But especially for those fans that really liked it, I think there's a lot of Canuck fans that are being maybe misled. I don't know what the word is, led to believe that there are more deals like that for the rest of the players that will leave. And I'm a little more cautious, John, based on what I see in the market, that whatever deals that they have left up their sleeve, I mean, I think people should be a little bit more modest in what they expect back.
Oh yeah, listen, I think they hit a home run with the Hughes deal, and if that means they've put the bar that high for what they're supposed to get on every trade, then that's going to be those are tough expectations to match. I don't think there's any question about that. But they're gonna try to improve the club every which way they can now, and would listen to, I think, something on absolutely everyone.
Well, the big trade, John, Kiefer Sherwood off to the San Jose Sharks for 2 second-round picks and a depth defenseman. How do you like the move for Vancouver?
Well, it obviously happened a lot quicker than most people realize as soon as the Canucks changed their demand. I mean, they had been asking for a first-round pick, and they changed it to getting a second-round pick. In fact, got 2 picks out of the Sharks. Clayton, who is a guy that came out of the Columbus system, was playing in the American League for the Sharks. I'm not sure what the upside of him is. That he's been a minor leaguer for 5 or 6 years, guys. So I don't think we really know what aspect he will be in all of this. But if you look at the 2 second-round picks, it's another opportunity for this hockey club to start the retooling, rebuilding, re-whatevering, or something hybrid.
I would suspect that all the picks they have in those first couple of rounds in 2026 end up being human beings they draft. I'm more open to interpretation for what that 2027 second-round pick is for the Vancouver Canucks. Is that a human they draft, or is that currency for future use to acquire a 22-year-old somebody?
Those picks are always currency, Blake. You know that as well as I do. It's currency now. You never know exactly what's happening. That the fact that the club now has multiple picks and they have an opportunity to start things. If there needs be a domino effect of finding a second-round pick to use, then that's exactly what they'll do to get a warm body. And at a certain point, you're going to have to get bodies rather than picks. You're going to have to get guys to play the game and try to work things out in the long term. I think the bigger question now that Sherwood's done is who's next. That really is what the next story in Vancouver will be between now and the Olympic break, and then obviously at the trade deadline.
Yeah, John, there's a school of thought that because there's only 12 days between the end of the Olympic roster freeze and trade deadline, that some may get desperate and pay bigger prices in that window. Is it just too risky for the Canucks to keep holding on to Sherwood, who's already been injured, to try and see if you could squeeze every last ounce of juice by the deadline on the 6th?
I think this makes a ton more sense. And this has always been a Rutherford Alvin MO. Get ahead of the curve, do what you have to do, get a return that you think is fair in all of this, and then see what happens. So I don't think anybody should be opposed to this trade happening on this Monday as opposed to waiting to a Monday in March.
Interesting. We've been asking since the lost Saturday night, a 10th in a row, what's most important at this stage? A win? Just one win. Break this streak, avoid franchise infamy. More losses to further secure last place and the best chance of picking number 1 overall, or trades and how they administer this trade build. What do you say? What do you think? What's most important for the Canucks as we stand here going into this Islanders game tonight?
Well, as much as you'd like to, see the team win a game or two, I think it's pretty pragmatic to suggest that what we're talking about is how to manage what happens at the draft in Buffalo at the end of June, and how to manage what the roster looks like when camp opens in September. Does winning really matter now? Seriously, and that's an awful thing to say, but does winning really matter when the team obviously has issues that they have to try to fix in order to try to, do something hybrid, whatever that hybrid is, so the answer is winning's nice, but in the end, with the way the situation has gone, and with what Jimmy's told people and what he told Gary Mason last week, I think that winning's not that important compared to everything else. It would may resolve some of the pressure in the market, but in the end, I think that people are now looking at this and saying, okay, what can you do for me next year? And what will the roster look like next year? And how do we do it in such a manner that we don't have an adverse effect on our young talent? That would be my biggest concern if I'm sitting there and talking to the coaching staff and going through everything. Is it how does it affect a Carlson? How does it affect a Bouillon? Those are things that I think have to be measured in order to make sure that you are working in an environment that allows these guys to grow and, don't laugh, want to play in Vancouver. Because that's part of it too, is creating an environment that is positive on all aspects.
It's the only argument for winning right now would be to break up the monotony, I guess, a little bit. Put yourself back on the headlines.
Avoid the 13-game winless streak, the worst in franchise
And they
history.
built up this cushion now for the best odds in the draft lottery. They built up a cushion here. Now, I think in an ideal world, of which we do not live in, John, you'd win like every 5th game just to keep things interesting for the fan base just a little bit. It's, I think that's where people are curious, John, is just when does the business side start to look at the owner and say, listen, we need a little help here. I know you guys are trying to quote unquote rebuild, and that whole dynamic is going to be interesting to watch and hear about.
The only thing I can reflect on in a similar scenario, Blake, this year was what the Winnipeg Jets went through when they they were winless in 11, and they went into a Friday night game against the Los Angeles Kings and beat the Kings badly, 5-1. And by the third period, the fans were singing and they were doing the wave and having a blast. That there was a little bit of bright sunshine coming in through the windows for, albeit for a period and a half of hockey.
Yeah.
If it can make your fan base feel positive about it, then it's important. But you have to be practical. What does winning help you do right now? And quite frankly, it doesn't help you do as much as you want it to do other than make your fans a little happy. But even that, there's going to be part of the fan base mad that you win.
Okay, how about
right?
Completely fair. No.
How about this
100%
question?
right.
How about this question? Do you promote the young players, the Lekramakis of the world and others? So Elias Pettersson's down there right now as well.
He's back up.
But it has been back there. Do you bring them up and expose them to the NHL, give them that experience, or do you protect them from the losing and bolster the AHL team who's also been at the bottom of the league as well? Like, what do you do with the kids? Play them in the NHL or shield them from the NHL?
Where will they develop best?
Probably a case by
Where
case
is the
basis.
best?
Yeah.
Right. So where would the best structure for, whether it be an Elias Pettersson or a Victor Mancini or one of the young guys that's supposed to be part of the future? If there's more structure in the NHL and there is supposed to be more structure in the NHL, then put them on the big squad, put them here and give them an opportunity. But that will happen, I think, if some players need a ton of ice time, then go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it and move them back to Abbotsford and let's see what they can do there. And I don't. But just as an aside, I don't care. The Calder Cup was nice. It was nice.
Yep.
I don't care about the American League Championship and wins and losses. It's a developmental league. It's to prepare people for the big show. And if you can prepare them better at this point on this season, playing for the Vancouver Canucks as opposed to the Abbotsford Canucks, then play them in Vancouver.
Yep. John, we're starting to hear more and more disappointment, dissatisfaction, anger with the management group here with the Vancouver Canucks. Do you have any reason to believe they may look to somebody else to rebuild this team, or do you think Rutherford and Alvin are safe through the deadline and through the rest of this season?
I think they're safe. I think that there's a strong relationship between ownership and this management team. There has been I don't think there's been any indication internally for sure that suggests that there's a lack of confidence in what Jim Rutherford and his group are trying to do now. Part of the issue in Vancouver, more so than anything, is the precipitous drop since the second round of the playoffs 2 years ago. It's not that they're bad now. It's how quickly it's happened. That's the amazing thing about this. And so what's to say that in that short period of time that Rutherford and Alvin and that group were in town, brought Rick Tocchet to town, and got them to a seventh game against the Edmonton Oilers, what's to say it can't happen again? I'm not towing a company line. I'm just saying, Jim Rutherford is known for this type of stuff. Tear it down, build it up, tear it down, build it up. That's part of his MO. And there's nothing to think, I think that, and there probably is somewhere on a piece of paper a pretty solid plan that he has that will work through all of this.
What did you make of his lukewarm commitment to the future, though, in staying in his seat?
I think when you get as to the age that Jim is at, I think you have to look at lots of things. You have to look at family. You have to look at challenges. And what I don't think is you don't want to put and back your owner into a corner. So in the end, the decision still will be the Aquilinis making the decision. But you don't want Jim Rutherford being bold and brash and saying, I'm here for the duration, just in case there's a decision made at a future date that surprises Rutherford and embarrasses everyone.
Yeah, I mean, he turned 77 in a few weeks, contractual status, plus also, what more do you want to do with your life? Those questions crystallize as you get to Jim's age. Moving on, How do you think Calgary did on the Rasmus Andersson deal, and what do you forecast for the Flames here going forward?
Well, I'm a huge Zach Whitecloud fan. I think he's a pretty good defenseman, a good solid D man. He certainly doesn't have the offensive skill that Andersson does, but Whitecloud will fit very well on that blue line for the Flames. And Craig Conroy was able to get another prospect, the kid out of Notre Dame or North Dakota rather, that's pretty good. So from that perspective, I think Craig did pretty well. In talking to people on both sides of it, that was actually their logic too, is that this is a trade that could help both teams at the right time. And from a Vegas perspective, this is typical Vegas. You guys have talked about it already with all the people. This is a typical Vegas move. No, there's no need to worry about a contract at this point. And George McPhee and Kelly McCrimmon are confident that if they want to re-sign Rasmus Andersson, he will be under contract before June 30th. And they have every reason to believe that the culture they have created, the family they have created in Vegas, the lifestyle they have created for the players in Vegas, that Rasmus Andersson will sign there long term. By the way, you don't think that Rasmus Andersson will have had a long talk in the last few months with former teammate Noah Hannafin?
Of course he would.
How are things there? Of course. Just like it was, to me, it's similar to what it was same as the conversation that Sam Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk had about Florida.
Right. How's things there? What's the room like? What's the lifestyle like? How much more take-home pay do you have with no state income taxes?
I think the reputation speaks. There's a reputation.
There's absolutely a reputation there. They've done nothing but win since they got in the league.
And by the way, what time are you teeing off tomorrow?
That's right.
There's that too.
That's right. That's right. And we should also mention Abram Weeb, the defenseman, is from Mission. In fact, spent 3+ years playing for the Chilliwack Chiefs.
Just saw him at the Spengler, yeah.
Absolutely. Lastly here, John, do you see a flurry activity before the Olympic roster freeze on February 4th?
I do. I do, simply because I think that, and maybe even quicker than that, maybe, as I said, even on the Sherwood situation this week, simply because I think people are trying to create opportunities for chemistry for guys so they have a better idea and indication exactly what they need by trade deadline. So get a player into your lineup, on your roster, play a few games. We'll go to the break, and then we'll make more evaluations that we have to, whether it works or not, and what more do they need. So the answer is, I think, yes, it's going to be advantageous for a few teams to be able to do it now, as opposed to that 2-week window when the games end at the last week of February.
Yeah, and forgive me, I had one other note here. Elias Pettersson, I was supposed to ask you, what are you hearing on Elias Pettersson?
Well, they're not shopping Pettersson. So they are not actively out there. They haven't put the shingle out and said Pettersson is available. But I can guarantee you that if somebody comes up with a great offer for Pettersson, it will be considered.
Do you think they've fielded calls on him already?
I don't know, Blake. It would be wrong for me to say yes, they have, or no, they haven't. But they are not out there doing with Pettersson what they have done with other players. And obviously when, the original email went out to the 31 teams, I don't think there was a contemplation that Pettersson was one of those guys that was supposed to be on that list. But I do think that if something came up and you looked at the offer and it made sense, then they would consider it.
How much do you think they're holding their nose, Canucks management, at the fact they have to consider, or they would like to, trade this many players that have trade protection? We've debated this on the show before, sort of what that does to a management's reputation, that you start to try to deal guys. In isolation, I don't think you think much of it. But, there's a bunch of guys here with trade protection that I think if they had their druthers, they would move on from.
Yeah. I don't think, honestly, I don't think that they sit there and say, "Oh boy, we're going to go back on our word to improve the hockey club." You come hell or just how do you improve this team so that come next season it's competitive. Mm-hmm. So as much as it's an issue from the collective bargaining agreement, from the word you gave your player, it doesn't matter. I mean, what you want to do is if you can go and find a way with trade protection, is the player gets to pick and choose where he wants to play. If you can do a deal with a team that's on that list, or if it's a full no move that they say, listen, we're compelled to move you. Where do you want to go? Then that's exactly what the whole concept of the trade protection was supposed to be. The player needed to be able to manage his future location, his career, and so it's still working. It's still doing its job. And it's not like the days of Matt Sundin in Toronto, and when Cliff Fletcher went to him and said, we're going to trade you. And he's, no, I'm not moving. I'm just not moving. And, that created a giant rift in that organization with Sundin for a long time.
Well, we've also been saying
I think there's more eyes wide open these days where players and representatives know it's about dictating where they go.
And as we've talked about, the project has changed for a lot of these players too. Like
that's it too.
They signed up for something different, and so they may be way more amenable than under normal circumstances. So.
Yep, and we shall see. And as John says, this could be quite an interesting week. Sir, thank you for the time. All the best. We'll catch up soon.
Cheers, boys.
Sekeres and Price from the historic Wall Center in the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studio built by Arbor Lee. Game night turns into a game weekend at the Wall Center. From puck drop to last call, everything you need is right outside your door. Stay where the fans stay. wallcenter.com. Well, a very happy weekend of NFL playoff football for the 12s. Seahawks fans who not only get a victory, but get another crack at the nemesis, but
they did in style, though.
Holy cow, what a dreadful weekend of football across the board. More on that in a second. Seahawks destroy an undermanned San Francisco team coming off a short week, 41-6. The 49ers so injured. They're playing guys who have no business being on a postseason NFL field, if you ask me. Game was over early, almost from the moment. Rashid Shaheed took the opening kickoff back for a score, his breakout game. Sam Darnold really didn't have to sweat that injured oblique. Throws it only 17 times. Sadly, the Seahawks will play the rest of the season without running back Zach Charbonnet. He is out with a knee injury that requires surgery, poor fellow.
ACL.
Just add him to the pile of guys who are dropping like flies in this playoff, or did during the 17-game, 18-week
I think there's
regular
worry
season.
about Charbonnet's start for next year now. Like, that's how bad this is. So
they're going to face their other NFC arch nemesis here, the Rams, in Sunday's conference championship game at Lumen. Yet another trilogy here for Seattle and this extraordinary NFC West division. I mean, it's like Leonard, Hagler, Duran in the mid-'80s. You got those three kings.
That's true.
Teams split their meetings this season. The second game in December, of course, was that game of the year, the wild one. Rams beat the Bears 2017 in overtime. If you ask me, the best played game of the weekend, Caleb Williams with a genius play on fourth down for a second straight week to force overtime, but 3 picks for Williams, including that costly one in overtime. Rams recovered 2 of their own fumbles. They win the turnover battle and the game.
That's not the controversial overtime game, though.
We will get to that one in a second. Let me just say, I was telling everybody at the Pemby last night, thanks to Cam and everyone who had us there, this whole Bear season for me was like gravy. And not just the thin au jus gravy, the like thick, chunky country home style gravy. I had no expectation they would get this far. Didn't think they would win the game yesterday. Was delighted that they were in it. Best is yet to come there. New England beats Houston after another shambolic performance from Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud. I said on Friday, he ain't going to fumble the ball 5 times this week. No, but he threw it 4 interceptions.
There's a lot of picks this weekend.
Holy
period.
cow. What awful quarterbacking play. and beyond. I mean, the Texans' O-line was a sieve. They were down to a third-string guy, emblematic of San Francisco's situation at linebacker, Chicago's situation at linebacker, Buffalo's situation at receiver, DB.
A lot of injuries, you're right.
And now Denver's situation at quarterback. That's because Bo Nix breaks his ankle on the penultimate play of the Broncos' overtime win over Buffalo. Denver prevails 33-30 on a field goal, but Nix is set for surgery. So it'll be journeyman Jared Stidham quarterbacking the Broncos at home next week as they host New England in the AFC
I know it's happened,
Championship.
but can you remember the last time a starting quarterback gets injured right before a conference championship playoff game?
Yeah.
Like law of averages tells you it's going to happen eventually, but honestly, Matt, it just doesn't happen that often. By this point in the proceedings, they generally are able to make a go of it.
Yeah.
You're down to the Final Four, and you don't have your guy. Not that Bo Nix is all that, but he's had more reps.
I mean, it's happened before. Carson Wentz got hurt. Nick Foles took the Eagles. Phil Simms got hurt. Jeff Hostetler took the Giants to a Super Bowl 25. But those injuries were in season, not in the divisional
So
playoff.
there was a run-up. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
now
they had guys who had some time. We'll get into it tomorrow, but Stidham hasn't played all year. Josh Allen, not very good for Buffalo. Terrible mistake at the end of the half. Bo Nix is almost never good, but they win with him thanks to that terrific defense. I mean, if ever there was an infomercial for the NFL season being too long, it was this weekend. We don't need 17 games. 16 was just fine. And, asking these players to do Sunday, Thursday turnarounds, just look at the condition of some of these rosters now. Because what we saw on the weekend was not playoff football. If that's playoff teams and that's the best this league has to offer, it has fallen way short of where it used to be. Poorly played games by so many teams, turnovers, mistakes, porous blocking, bad tackling, drops aplenty. I mean, it was war of attrition survival. Truly not, a couple of compelling finishes.
That's what the NFL will lean on.
Exactly.
We gave you two
that's all they
overtime
can.
games.
That's all they can lean on.
Okay, but let's get into the main conversation, though. Blue dress, white dress, interception or catch.
So
which is it?
We're gonna, Mike, bring up Gene Sterator's tweet here. This is Gene Sterator, the former NFL official and rules analyst for CBS Sports. It's the correct call. It's a very harsh call for Buffalo, but it's a correct call. And Gene is right when he says that at some point when you're you can slow it down and freeze frame it and take that exact frame and put it on social media and say that's a catch. No, it's not. NFL is played at real speed, not frame by frame speed. And Serator's right that when you slow it down to 1/100th, it does actually look like he possesses the ball. But he's got to survive contact with the ground.
Which involves more than 1/100th of a second. Yes.
Exactly. If that ball rolls off his chest and drops to the ground, it's an incomplete pass. And so that it doesn't contact the ground and is stolen away by the Denver Broncos DB, that's an interception. Harsh call for Buffalo, to be sure, but I think they got the correct one.
The other way that I think explains it more fully, the way they could have called it, I think correctly, is catch, fumble. But if you call it a catch, then he's
down by contact.
Then he's down. So
you'll have to survive contact with the ground, and contact with the ground is not survived in the nanosecond when you hit the ground. It's controlling the football through the contact with the ground when you come to a stop.
But I think what people are having most trouble with is an interception is generally regarded as you catching a pass from the opposition quarterback, and he did not catch that pass under any definition. He didn't. He stripped the guy.
Well,
how is that an interception?
Because it doesn't touch the ground.
But that's what people are tripping up on.
Yeah.
He didn't catch the ball.
It's an irregular interception, but it's still an interception.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, and to show a lack of bias here, I saw Bears fans complaining about that Davante Adams catch in the strip. Different set of circumstances. Adams makes a move, common to the game. He turns upfield. Knee hits the ground where he's got full control of the ball. Play is dead right there. Bears strip him afterwards. Sorry, that's not a fumble. He's down by contact after making a move, common to the game, after maintaining full control throughout the catch, which Brandon Cooks does not do for Buffalo. It's too bad because it likely cost.
Oh, it's the game.
Well, and it cost Sean McDermott his job.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The head coach of the Buffalo Bills fired this morning after 9 seasons because he couldn't get over the hump, especially this season with no Patrick Mahomes, no Joe Burrow, no Lamar Jackson in the AFC playoffs. Buffalo has been the best team statistically over the last 6 years, but they haven't even gotten to a Super Bowl, let alone won one. And strange happenings with McDermott after the game. Did you hear of this? So first of all, he makes an impassioned plea in his post-game news conference about how he's sticking up for Buffalo after that controversial interception ruling. He then, Blake, called Bills beat reporters from the team plane while they were still finishing their stories in the press box to further lobby.
Yeah.
And many saw that as an indication that McDermott was fighting for his job by aligning with the fans of Buffalo and their outrage over the call. Others thought he just knew he was out, so he had nothing to lose.
The firing is not uniformly regarded as the right move. He's one of those coaches that people do think does the job, but ultimately, I mean, it's bottom line related, and he's been given a generational quarterback, I think, in a lot of ways, and he squandered it. So, like right now, there's players that are sending it out on social media. I mean, they know that it's done, but they are aghast that their coach has been fired. And that's not always the case, right? I think in a lot of cases, we heard this last week in Pittsburgh too, players like refusing to accept it. And that shows that at least those coaches were probably class acts and conducted themselves well in the room, and they were liked by their players. But the owners and the managers, they just go by wins.
Yep.
If you don't have wins, you don't have wins.
Kevin Stefanski, the new coach in Atlanta, 2-time NFL Coach of the Year with Cleveland. He comes on the heels of John Harbaugh, who goes to the Giants. We talked about that Friday. So your vacancies now: Buffalo, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Vegas, Tennessee, Miami, Arizona, and Cleveland. Vancouver Whitecaps FC have arrived in Spain via Munich, where they stopped to pick up a very important guest. They'll stay in Spain until February 11th when they return home here to Vancouver 1 week before their first CONCACAF Champions League match versus Sport Cartagenas of Costa Rica. They also released their training camp roster. All of the returnees are there, as you might expect, minus those traveling back from international duty. More on them in a second. 6 Whitecaps FC, 2 players, 3 academy players. None of the super draft picks. Top pick midfielder Zach Ramsey has elected to return to school at the University of Washington. So have 2 of the other super draft picks. One of them is hurt. And reports tying the Caps to different players. Axel Schuster had said last week they are looking to add 3 to 4 more players. We've got a report from Pachamama Radio in Peru that says the Whitecaps lead the race to sign Peruvian prodigy Max Lauren Castro, a winger who could fetch a potential $2 million fee here. Apparently, Kenji Cabrera's adaptation to Vancouver has played a role here. Castro likes what he's hearing. Of course, the Caps suddenly have need on the wing after trading Jaden Nelson to Austin and seeing Ali Ahmed transferred to Norwich City. More on him in a second.
This is an 18-year-old, though, that has already played senior caps for a pretty decent Peruvian team. Like that is extraordinary to have an 18-year-old playing senior caps already. So the kid's probably got some game here.
He likely does. I mean, LAFC being involved probably tells you something, too. And Glass City says they are in pursuit of Dundee United's 25-year-old left-back Will Ferry. Caps made a bid for him last summer, but didn't meet the Scottish valuation on him. As Glass City notes, more general allocation money in the bank shouldn't be a problem on the valuation this time around. He's an Englishman who plays for Ireland internationally. Dundee is mid-table in the Scottish Premiership. Began his career at Southampton, but didn't play senior matches there.
Yeah, he's played League One and now Scottish Premiership. So, it's not a guarantee that he drops in and he's spectacular, but he is just 25. He is out of the Tate Johnson mold, so they don't get a strapping left back like you have with Sam Adekugbe. You're going back to a wee man. But
yep,
we'll see.
Ralph Priso at center back, Rayan Alume at striker. They start for Canada in its 1-0 victory over Guatemala on Saturday. This was a friendly downgraded to a B international, meaning it did not count for FIFA rankings, nor did the players involved get senior caps. Surrey's Jeevan Bodwal and Vancouver's Thiago Coimbra? Coimbra came in off the bench. Surrey's Joel Waterman did not play. Guatemala had beaten Canada. And Canada's A team, no less, 2-1 in June at the Gold Cup.
In penalties, yeah.
Knocking Canada out of the tournament. So not exactly they had a score to settle, put it that way.
They played pretty well. Coimbra had a great opportunity, great play when he just dropped in. He's Vanni Sartini's striker there. So congrats to Vanni on
Halifax,
good performance there. But everybody's takeaway after this match is Ralph Priso.
Yep.
He was spectacular, so calm, cool, and collected back there. He makes such smart plays. He is not blazingly fast. Like, he's not Moise Bombito, but he gets there, and he uses his body. He's smaller stature-wise, but he's like a heavy guy, if that makes any sense. Like, you just can't move him.
And I read he played right center back for the first time. He had played almost exclusively left center back when asked to play and that's not even his position. He was a defensive midfielder until late in the season.
And because he's a midfielder by trade and through his life, his first passes from the back line are that much better than most center backs can give you. So he gives you midfielder-like passing, but from the center back position. Like, it's weird, but it's working.
Yeah, the takeaway from people who are watching this team is that you may have to have Priso on the World Cup team in reserve at center back. Canada has announced its March schedule with a game versus Iceland on the 28th and Tunisia on the 31st of March. Both will be in Toronto. We already knew they were playing Uzbekistan on June 1st in Edmonton, and we are suspecting one other tune-up, and you hope that's a higher up the world ladder side. Ben Steiner thinks that game will be in Montreal about a week later, so June 8th or so.
Everybody's coming into town later, around that time, I mean. I think they can secure somebody. Everybody else wants that tune-up as well. The Iceland one is a little disappointing for some because they're 74th ranked, and they play a pretty – we saw them when they went on their Euro run that one year. They play a very conservative block, and then try and counter. And the Canadians are used to that. Like, that's CONCACAF-y kind of football. It would be way more beneficial for them to play a more traditional European classy team that moves the ball in that regard to prepare for Switzerland. So we'll see what they can accomplish here, but that would be the goal, is to find somebody that plays a little bit more traditionally European football. The Uzbekistan and Tunisia experiment is for the Qatar style of play, and that one matches up nicely.
Ali Ahmed debuts for Norwich City in the English Championship. They beat Wrexham, Ryan Reynolds' team, 2-1. Ahmed with a beautiful assist across the box through traffic, too.
Yeah.
To set up a goal.
Great first impression. The fans were loving
and I saw
that.
his teammates were oohing and eyeing as they watched him amidst their travels. And the Canadian Championship draw is out. The Whitecaps will face the winner of Cavalry versus Pacific, so a chance for an all-BC series there. First leg July 8th, second leg somewhere between July 21st and August 13th. Due to the World Cup, BC Place will not be available to host these matches, so we'll see where they go. Caps have won 4 consecutive Canadian championships, and we also learned that the Canadian Championship will now use extra time if tied after regulation. Not straight to penalties. I'm not sure I understand that one. Just go straight to penalties.
More football. Players are not asking for more. The neutral site thing is, or not neutral site, but news site is maybe going to add something to these early stages, Matt, because those have not been well attended matches in the past at BC Place. You put them somewhere more intimate. I think people will get a kick out of it.
Taylor Pendrith winds up being the top finishing Canadian at the season opening Sony Open on the PGA Tour in Hawaii. It's won by Chris Gotterup, who's a real up-and-coming player. I think Keegan Bradley made a big mistake not taking him on the Ryder Cup team. Pendrith minus 11th. It was good for a tie for 6. Now, Abbotsford's Nick Taylor was leading this tournament after a sizzling 62 in the first round. He was the defending champion as well, but he followed up with a pair of 70s on the weekend. That was even golf, and there were a lot of guys going lower. So he finishes tied for 13th alongside new shooter Sudarshan Yelamaraju, this Canadian from Ontario. A 65 yesterday. It gets him a very solid finish of T13, just his second ever PGA Tour event. Surrey's Adam Svensson finished tied for 40th at 73 in the final round, so he went backwards, and Coquitlam's A.J. Ewart did not make the cut in what was his first PGA Tour event outside of a Canadian Open, just his third total. He's on tour this
Connors
year.
was 24th, though, so we had 4 Canadians inside the top 25.
Good number of Canadian flags. Last, you wonder if any of the live guys are... We do get a re-migration of all the live players.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see fewer Canadian flags on these leaderboards. So it'll get that much tougher. And then in tennis, Victoria Mboko loses in the finals of that Adelaide warm-up tournament we talked about Friday, but she wins her first round match down under at the Aussie Open. So does Denis Shapovalov. Sadly, number 7 seeds Felix Auger-Aliassime had to retire with a leg injury at the start of the fourth set in his first round match. Gabriel Diallo, new shooter Liam Draxel also lose in the first round. So does Canadian Marina Stakusic, who had to be wheelchaired off the court while down in the third set of her opening round match. She was in quite a bit of pain and discomfort. Leila Annie Fernandez plays a little later today. Final results of the poll question we asked you last week. Do you miss wins? Do you miss Canucks wins? Yes or no? People said
no.
No, they don't. Percentage?
80.
70.
30's more than I would have guessed, but
Ryan says the only Canucks win that counts this season is at the draft lottery. We'll leave it at that, Ryan. And errors and omissions from yesterday's program, Monday's program, Friday's program, and beyond. I said there were 6 NFL job openings. There were 7, and in fact, now there are 8 after everything went down. Anything to self-report? Anything from the inbox?
No.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky Live, many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, please do support the community sponsors you hear us talking about and keep it local.